What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a daytime stream. I haven't done this in a while. It literally just turned 2 o'clock p.m. And I am going to be here with you guys for as long as my daughter takes a nap, basically. She went down for a nap. I laid her in her crib maybe 15 minutes ago, and now I'm here. Now I'm sitting with you guys. Now I'm listening to some tunes along with you guys, watching my daughter on the baby monitor, looking up some internet stuff, and shooting the shit. 1900 over here. Nice Star Wars guy. Why don't we go to the 24-hour calendar? I miss it. I used to exclusively use the 24-hour calendar in the military. It makes more sense. When I say meet me at 10, what do you mean? 10 a.m. or 10 p.m.? Oh, I could just say 2200 and you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Makes way more sense. Michael Whiteley, what do you think of N64 Shadows of the Empire? It is, I have a list of favorite Star Wars games, and at the tip top, it's Star Wars Galaxies. But that Shadows of the Empire is without a doubt, it might be my second favorite Star Wars game of all time. It is without a doubt the Star Wars game, other than Galaxies. It is probably the Star Wars game I've put more hours into. Actually, other than Battlefront 2, I don't know if I've put more hours into Shadows of the Empire over the years, in the past 20-something years, than Battlefront 2, but it's probably close. It's probably close. I love it, man. I love it. I need to stream it again. I used to stream it quite a bit. Mr. Clutch888, thank you so much for the first super chat and channel support of the stream. Dude, I can't say thank you enough for that support. All the fleet members that are on right now, Took, Dolthier, I saw you up there, man. I should always introduce you guys. Sapity, thank you guys as well for supporting the channel. It's the reason I can do this full, well, not necessarily full-time, but it is one of my primary gigs. So thank you guys so much. Mr. Clutch, glad I can finally make a stream. Well, I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad you're here. I wish I could accommodate more time zones, right? I wish I could accommodate more places on the globe to check out Hello Greedo live streams. But, normally I'm kind of restricted to... It's a personal restriction, where I restrict myself to streaming only at like 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. because that's when my wife usually feeds and rocks my daughter and puts her to bed. So there's like an hour there where I can just kind of do Hello Greedo stuff. And that's just, for me, it's prime time. It's like the best time for me to stream, and I recognize that, you know, if I stream at 6:30 at night, what is that? In like England, for example, what time would that be? Are they 5 hours ahead or 6? Anyway, it would be late. It might be like midnight, 12:30 even. So I want to try to, I always say this, I want to try to accommodate and do more daytime streams on my end to be able to kind of, you know, accommodate the globe. But Mr. Clutch, thank you so much for tuning in, man, and thank you for the support. I almost said this evening. I'm so used to saying this evening. Nice. I know this isn't Star Wars related, Latula, but I just finished playing Doki Doki Literature Club, and I will not be sleeping tonight. Holy Ewok. I don't know. I don't know what any of those words mean. Doki Doki Literature Club? Never heard of it. Never heard of it. Juke! I work in radio news in the North Chicago suburbs. You got the voice to fill in for me on vacation. Ha, nice, man. I was actually recording some audiobook stuff last night. I recorded 2 chapters. I recorded Chapter 2, Why Star Wars, and Chapter 3, YouTube. And I edited the Why Star Wars, and I'm in the middle of editing YouTube chapter. And I was like, man, this sounds really good. And I didn't try to change my voice to be more bookish, you know? I'm reading the book as if I was reading a script from a YouTube video that I made, or one of these live streams even. It's just kind of like free-flowing, kind of feels in the moment, even though it's massively scripted. And I was just like, you know, this sounds pretty damn good. And I figure people would want me to read it that way instead of being like, you know, why do we all like Star Wars? You know what I mean? Why Star Wars? I just read it in my normal, like, YouTube voice, so hopefully people will dig it. I know most people aren't going to give a shit about this book, but it's just something for me to be proud of, that, you know, I made it. And even if it sucks, I'll just be proud of it, you know? When can we get the audiobook? May the 4th is when the paperback and audiobook are coming out. I'm crossing my fingers that I will have everything done by then. The only thing holding me back at the moment is finishing the audiobook. But I think it is going along well. Sorry guys, I'm taking a... We took a walk to the park earlier and I forgot my water. So, and it's hot as shit outside. Luckily I brought my daughter's water, but I didn't want to drink it. Because I didn't want to, like, rob her of water. I would rather me collapse. So I'm, like, very parched. Dr. Strangelove, thank you so much for the super chat and channel support, man. I greatly appreciate that on this random daytime 2:05 p.m. live stream. Do you agree that over-the-top super... Oh, I almost said surveillance. Do you agree that over-the-top supervillains like Palpatine are just as good, if not better, than complicated, conflicted villains like Roy Batty? Well, over-the-top supervillains can also be complicated and conflicted, I guess, in a way. Or, I like over-the-top supervillains. I haven't seen Thanos in the movies. I haven't seen Infinity War. I haven't seen Endgame. I'm so far behind in my Marvel viewing. But I've heard a little bit about Thanos. I don't know much about him, but he sounds like a villain, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's villains like this, so you'll get my point. I like over-the-top supervillains who you can kind of understand their point of view, or at least sympathize with their worldview. Does that make sense? You don't have to agree with it, but you can understand. Right? You can understand. Now, I don't know anything about Thanos, but it just sounds like he's a character like that. Yeah, I would say they're just as good, but it all depends in the nitty-gritty and the details of those two types of things, right? A supervillain like Palpatine, or a more conflicted character, even like Kylo Ren, right? Which one do I prefer? Golly. See, it's hard to say Palpatine for me, because when I you know, Palpatine, the super evil pre-Emperor, in the prequels, yeah, he's fun to watch, but I liked him a lot more in the original trilogy, in Empire, in Return of the Jedi, where yes, he was the evil man, but he was kind of, there was like a counteracted in a way by Vader, who had conflict within him. So, you know, you have a duo right there. You have the supervillain who is just steadfast in his views and willing to do anything to make his vision come to life, alongside Vader, who ultimately shows his true conflict, you know? So I'm going to say that I prefer complicated and conflicted villains because they're just more interesting than just bad guy number 1, bad guy number 2. A Kylo Ren, to me, is a much more interesting character when you think about him as a character and the depth of his character than a Palpatine, you know? Palpatine is the ultimate manipulator. Kylo Ren, there's a little more to it, you know, than just seeking power and control. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, Dr. Strangelove. Whenever I answer a question like that, and I don't really know how to answer it in full, I find that I kind of worry that I don't answer it. Oh. Pry, thank you so much for the super chat and channel support this afternoon, man. Let me see if I can get your last name right. Magruta? Did I say that correctly? Magruta? We'll see. We'll see. Also, Kylo Ren is such an amazing villain in the sequels. I agree, Strangelove. He might be my favorite Star Wars villain. You know, Vader is kind of default, but in terms of conflicted villain and someone with a lot of depth, I love Kylo, man. I love him. Pry, thank you so much. Oh, I did get it right. Nice. Magruta. Are you hyped for Endgame? So, first of all, thank you so much for the generous super chat this afternoon, man. I greatly appreciate that. So, me and this Marvel Cinematic Universe, we've had a complicated relationship this past year. So my daughter was born last April 2018. And since then, I haven't seen any movies. I haven't seen any Marvel movie. Oh, I take that back. I did see Black Panther. I watched it a couple weeks ago on Netflix. Me and my wife, we liked it, but we were like, what? Why is the hype so big? It was fun, don't get me wrong, but it was very similar to most Marvel movies. Pretty formulaic. Maybe I'm in the minority when it comes to that opinion, but that's just how I felt. So I haven't seen Age of Ultron. I haven't seen Infinity War. I haven't seen Thor Ragnarok. I haven't seen Captain Marvel. I haven't seen most new Marvel movies in the past, like, 2 years, I'd say. But I do have, now that this whole Endgame thing is coming and I see everybody's hype for it, Pry, it gives me that itch to want to watch all the movies consecutively leading into this new one. It really makes me want to catch up and almost binge it in a way. And I'm kind of excited to do it in that way because, you know, I'm always torn. Do I like binging a show back to back to back to back, or do I like waiting? Do I like waiting, you know, a week to see an episode? But I'm kind of excited to just have like a catalog of Marvel movies that I can watch, boom, couple a week, you know, and then catch up to Endgame. I'm definitely not going to see Endgame in the theater. We just got too much life shit going on, and it's way too hard to go see movies nowadays with a baby. So I probably won't see it until it's like on Disney Plus or wherever it's going to be, you know. But so long story short, I wouldn't say that I'm hyped for it, but I am hyped to catch up and watch what I've missed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because, you know, as somebody who's on the internet and I make YouTube videos, I see the swirling hype that is around that, and I kind of have that. What do the kids call it? The FOMO. The FOMO. So yeah, eventually I'll see it, man. But thank you so much for the support this afternoon. And Mr. Clutch, once again, Magneto is the only good Marvel villain in my opinion. I like Magneto a lot because, well, as I said, there's complication there, right? There's Pry.
Are you hyped for the 50 Shades of Grey anthology movie?
The robot had to read that one, man. Give me one sec, Pry. Mr. Clutch, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Magneto is the only good Marvel villain, in my opinion. I really like Magneto, and I think he's an interesting villain because of that conflict that he has. Whenever there's just generic bad guy A, generic bad guy B, I'm always just like, okay, alright. But it's like Khan in Star Trek. You know, there's complications. There's conflict. You understand their point of view. Magneto is looking out for his own. He's seen oppression. He's lived through horror, as we know from his backstory. So, in his mind, he's doing what he deems as just and right. And I think that is a very interesting villain. Someone you can kind of understand their mindset, but at the same time, you also sympathize with them, you know? They have a troubled upbringing. They have a troubled past. They're fighting for something that you can kind of agree with. To me, that makes for a very interesting villain. So yeah, I don't know too much about other Marvel villains and stuff like that. But my favorite villains, as I've said, are the villains that you almost have a hard time calling villains, right? I don't know. Does that make sense? But yeah, I'm in agreement with you, not necessarily with the only good Marvel villain, because I'm not too versed in that whole universe, but as a villain, Magneto is definitely at the top of my list. For sure. A mutant looking out for mutants, who has seen oppression, who has seen rights stripped, who just wants a fighting chance, and now he's pissed off. I dig it, man. And Pry, once again, thank you so much for the super chat, man. I greatly appreciate that support this evening, this afternoon, rather. I can't get enough of water. Pry, are you hyped for the 50 Shades of Grey anthology movie? See, we're talking about villains. I think Grey is the, what's his name? Michael Grey? I'm gonna look up this guy's name. Grey. 50 Shades of Grey. Is there an actually anthology movie coming out? No. Let's see. Christian Grey. Okay. Yeah, man. When we're talking about villains, there's no better villain than Christian Grey. He's got that struggle. We can sympathize with him. We can empathize with his plight. We saw his struggle. No, I have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. No, I'm not Pry. And I'm kind of happy to say, it's crazy how those books took off. What they were, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't they Twilight fan fiction? And then they kind of, the author kind of spun it into its own thing. I might be wrong about that. Maybe that was just something that I heard. But it's crazy how they struck a chord. It's very interesting how certain things, and now that's a genre that has probably existed for a very, very long time. Why is that book or set of books the one that exploded? It's interesting. It's interesting. I don't get it. It's not for me, but hey. I heard the movies are great. Oh yeah, I did watch Spider-Verse, Theron. I forgot about that. I did. I always, for whatever reason, I don't think of that as like the same kind of thing, but I did. I really enjoyed that. That was a really fun movie, for sure. The rise of Skywalker name baffles me. Jonathan Rowe. Yeah, I think it's a little... Well, it's going to take some getting used to. It kind of reminds me of the first time that we all heard of The Phantom Menace as a title, you know? That was, you know, before that we had A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Very kind of concrete. You get it, right? What's the second movie about? Oh, The Empire Strikes Back. Okay. What's the third movie? Oh, The Jedi Return. Okay. What's this one called? The Phantom Menace. Huh? What's this one called? The Rise of Skywalker. Oh, that's different. I kind of have a theory about that. And you might have heard this before, Jonathan Rowe, so stop me if I'm repeating myself, but I'm definitely repeating myself. Oh.
Last Jedi hate.
Pry, thank you so much, man. Give me one sec. My thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker as a title is that Skywalker is going to not necessarily become the title replacing Jedi, but I think it's going to be... Skywalker is going to be the new kind of, not dogma or doctrine, but kind of the new legend, right? People aren't necessarily going to become Skywalkers, but they're going to have a similar mentality, or Skywalker as a name is going to go down as legend, and it's not, I don't think the name is referring to an individual. It's referring to more of a mindset, a title, if you will, something to strive for, something to embody. I think that's what it's going for. But we'll see. I could be wrong. We'll see. I don't know. Pry, thank you so much once again for the super chat and channel support and the support this stream, man. I greatly appreciate that. What are your thoughts on the overblown Last Jedi hate? You know, it does. Well, first of all, it doesn't bother me. I have no problem with anybody's opinion about The Last Jedi that differs from mine. As you guys know, what I have a problem with is kind of like news outlets and YouTube channels and just constantly pumping out this same shit over and over and over again. Like, we get it. I would, if I did that, I would feel so goddamn creatively bankrupt. You know what I mean? Anyway. But I think a lot of that overblown Last Jedi hate, Pry, a lot of it's real. A lot of it is absolutely, people hate that movie. People love that movie. And then people like me are kind of like in the middle. You know, I liked it. There's some parts that I didn't like, but you know, overall I liked it. It's interesting from a creator's point of view, a YouTuber's point of view, because I'm in the YouTube game. And I see that reactionaries and overblown exaggerations kind of peak the charts when it comes to YouTube. And it's kind of a cycle. It feeds itself. This kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just kind of, I don't know. It feeds itself, and this outrage machine moves on all cylinders, and boom, and boom, and boom, and thousands of videos, and boom, and boom, and boom. Oh, my super anti-Last Jedi video did really well. Let me pump out 10 more. And boom, and boom, and boom, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. So the world is definitely a lot louder than it used to be. This whole Last Jedi, like, hate and all that kind of stuff is very reminiscent. If you guys were around during the prequel era, if you were on like some of the forums and stuff like that, you can see the parallels plain as day. I mean, go back and read in the internet time machine, go back and read some of the critic reactions and the fan reactions to like the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. They are, in my opinion, they're worse, way worse than what we're seeing now. The only difference is, nowadays everybody has a voice. Nowadays everybody has a Twitter, everybody has a Facebook, everybody has a YouTube channel. Everybody's a critic. The world is just louder, and we're constantly bombarded with these opinions. We're constantly bombarded by people telling us what to think and why we should dislike a thing, or why we should like a thing. And everybody just has an opinion that they need to get out there. It reminds me of those types of people who, if you have a conversation with them in the real world, they're not really listening to what you say. They're more waiting for their chance to speak. Does that make sense? I don't know, Pry. I don't pay it any mind. Like I said, I don't give a shit what anybody else's opinion is about these movies. I literally just hop on here and shoot the shit with you guys, make a few videos, and I have some fun. If my entire modus operandi was to just constantly shit on something over and over and over again, I would just, it would feel like a grind, and I would feel creatively bankrupt. That being said, I did that quite a bit for the first year or two of the channel. I did a lot of, anti-prequel stuff, and that was all fun to me. I did it in a kind of like a creative presentation where I put myself in the films, and it was more about that than like me just shitting on stuff. But I can see how it could be construed as a lot of the similar trends that we're seeing nowadays. But I've kind of let go of that over the past few years. I've kind of, I don't know, have I matured a little bit in my presentation? It certainly is not the thing that gets the most popular and the most eyeballs on your stuff. I mean, look, all you got to do is look at YouTube and see what the most popular things are. Most of the time, they're like anti-something. The thumbnail is like against something. The title is it's the worst video game ever. And I'm just like, come on, really? Come on. That's the most popular stuff, so what happens? People just start making more of that kind of stuff because it's popular. If it bleeds, it leads. Negativity has become an industry until itself. I didn't say that right, did I? Negativity has become an industry. What I actually wrote? Let me see. Yeah, whatever. I was recording my audiobook earlier, and I read a paragraph that was very similar to the thoughts that I just had. Anyway, I appreciate that support like crazy this afternoon, Pride. Thank you so much, man. And Dugamar, thank you so much for the super chat and channel support. Oh hey, I just found your channel last week and binged your Clone Wars stuff. Your voice and personality are okay. We'll be watching more in the future. Well, thank you so much for, first of all, thank you for viewing the stuff and getting a kick out of it, man. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the hell out of that support, and you just found the channel, so thank you for supporting it, man. It's, you're an early Hello Greedo viewer, and I want everybody in the chat to say welcome. Can everybody in the chat say welcome to Hello Greedo Dugamar? I appreciate that, man. And thank you for watching. You must have watched a shitload of Clone Wars stuff. I don't even know how many Clone Wars videos I've put out so far, but it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit. But thanks for stumbling upon the channel, man. Stay for a while. We have fun. We have fun. We try to be as level-headed as possible. We got a lot of people in the chat and on the channel who very much dislike what the sequel trilogy is doing, and then we have a lot of people who love what the sequel trilogy is doing. So I've always found that the Hello Greedo channel has a really good mesh of personalities and opinions, because which I'm ultimately super happy about. If everybody who watched my stuff just loved everything, it would be boring. If everybody who watched my stuff just hated everything, it would be boring. I like that middle ground. It's like politics in a way. The far left and the far right, fuck off. They're boring. You're boring. Do you have any opinions of your own? You're boring. I like center. I like boring old centrists. But I appreciate that, man. And Sapity, thank you so much. Good to see ya. What will the Disney overlords conquer next after... Century Fox. Also, as a war history... What the fuck word did I just say? As a war history enthusiast, I need to ask, what's your favorite war film? Ooh. I'm gonna say Saving Private Ryan. I watched Saving Private Ryan in the theater when it first came out. That was what, 96? Let me look that up. I remember exactly where I was when I watched it. Oh, 98. Okay, 98. So I was 12 years old. I went to the theater and I saw Saving Private Ryan with my grandpa. I was up in Ohio visiting some family, and we went to the theater to see it. That was actually the last movie my grandpa ever went to in the theater. And he talks about that all the time. He's like, I went to the movie theater with you. We saw Saving Private Ryan. That's the last movie that I ever saw. I don't know why. I think he just had his fill. So yeah, it's definitely my favorite war movie. I like the characters. We get to know them. It's not the reason what to wonder why It's our reason to do or die, or something like that. The whole mission is very uplifting, and I just love everything about that movie. Even without the opening Normandy scene, which everybody talks about, it's still a solid film. I remember being in the theater, and this was in '98. There were World War II veterans in the theater. They were weeping. Some of them got up and had to walk out. That's when I kind of knew that this was different, right? This was different. Yeah, it's an incredibly... Me and my wife watched it when we first started dating 10 years ago, and she asked me, is it really violent? And in my head, when I think of violence, I think of like over-the-top RoboCop ultra violence that is almost cartoony in a way, right? I don't think of realistic stuff like Saving Private Ryan, things that people actually went through. I don't consider that to be necessarily violent. I know that's probably some weird justification that I'm creating in my brain, but I differentiate between that which someone went through versus, I don't know, Judge Dredd, right? Does that make sense? So I told her it wasn't, and she was like, you lied. I was like, oh, well, people went through this. I see it more as like a historic kind of accuracy time period film. That's how I view it. I don't necessarily see it as like ultra violence. Does that make sense? I guess I was wrong. But yeah, favorite war film is Saving Private Ryan. But I've always been into World War II, Sapity. It's incredibly interesting to me, Operation Overlord, and what was all planned, all the inflatable tanks and stuff like that in Africa that they used to trick the Nazis into thinking that the invasion was coming from a different location. I just love the planning stage of that. I just find it all so fascinating, you know? I don't think we will ever have a war like that again. I really don't. Not in terms of bloodshed or scale and scope, but I mean in terms of that, well, that type of technology and army against army. Does that make sense? I think war is going to be much different moving forward with automation and I don't know, machines, autonomous robots, technology. I think it's going to be, I think that's probably the last time that we'll see something like that. But plus it was a war for the world. It was a war for humanity. It was a war for, you know, for Europe. But more so than that, even the world. It was a war that there were clear divisions. There was the good, there was the evil, and it must be defeated. So it's one of the reasons Eisenhower is probably my favorite president of all time. Plus when he talks about the military-industrial complex and all that stuff, it's interesting. Anyway, I appreciate that, Sapity. And Vibs Ninja's Boss, thank you so much for that super chat and channel support. I greatly appreciate that this afternoon, man. I don't know if you meant to type a little message in there or not, but if you didn't and you wanted to be a silent supporter, I appreciate that all the same. Thank you so much, man. Oh, did I say a word that's not a word, Brando? It's okay. I'm just talking. Darth something. Nope, I have not seen Infinity War. I haven't even seen Age of Ultron. I'm as I said earlier, I'm very, very behind in my Marvel viewing. Very far behind. What would you think of a Cy Snoodles and the Max Rebo Band standalone? No thanks, Tom. Maybe a comic. Maybe a comic. What's going to happen after the sequel trilogy, Daniel? I don't know. I think they're going to take a break. Isn't that the word? Which I'm kind of happy about. I've said it for a while that I miss the hype. That's not the right way to say it. I miss the build-up. I get super excited for the saga films. The anthology films, I'm excited, but nowhere near the level of the anthology films. The anthology films, nowhere near the level of the saga films, rather. The saga films always felt like, they have always felt like an event to me, ever since I went to the prequel films. They feel like a build-up. You have a couple years in between. They're building up to something. The anticipation is high. And I'm kind of glad they're going to step back and kind of reevaluate and maybe get that build-up going again. Because I think that was a big asset for Star Wars forever. I've said that since day one of Disney acquiring the franchise. I wanted them to take their time. But after the sequel trilogy, we're going to get The Mandalorian. We're going to get the Cassian Andor show at some point. We're going to get Rian Johnson's trilogy. We're going to get Benioff and Weiss's trilogy. So there's a lot of stuff, A lot of stuff. I'm fine with a block of time where we have nothing, though. Because, that won't be good for the channel, right? But I'm going to sacrifice the channel for a little bit of that anticipation and build up. Waffle Dog says, not sure I'm ready for the Phantom Menace to be 20 years old in a few weeks. Yeah, it's weird, right? I was 12 years old. No, I was 13. What? I think I was 13. My birthday is a couple days. Let me see. The Phantom. May 19th. So I was 12. Only a couple days away from 13 when I saw the Phantom Menace. That's hard to believe, man. That's really hard to believe that it's been 20 years. It feels like a different life, It feels like a different life. That's crazy. I was living in Georgia at the time. I saw it twice in the theater, once with my dad and once with my mom. My parents are still together. They're not divorced or anything, but I went with my mom and my sister and me. My mom fell asleep. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. And I think back like 20 years ago, it doesn't feel that long. It does feel like a long, long time ago, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm like, that's not that long ago. But then I see footage of 1999, and I'm like, oh, this is like a different world. Kind of crazy. Wow, she's still napping. Awesome. She rolled over like 5 minutes ago, and now she's on her belly. And whenever she does that, she usually tends to nap quite a long time. Sapity, man, still remember the night my mom woke me up in the middle of the night to tell me a new Star Wars trailer came up, which was the Phantom Menace back then. Geez, time flies. No kidding, that little thumbnail trailer. Oh no, that's not what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the special editions. I don't remember watching the trailer. I know for a fact I watched it, but I don't really remember ever like watching the trailer. I'm sure I did. But we had a computer. And we had, obviously it played on TV, but I don't remember watching the trailer. Robin, which one did the robot just notify? Shit, I missed it. It was either Steven or Robin. I'm going to let the robot read... there we go. Robin. Cool. All right. Robin, thank you so much for the support this afternoon, man. I greatly appreciate that. Did you listen to Eminem's Kill Shot? Thoughts? I don't think so. Is it new? Official audio. 2018. Oh, came out like 6 months ago or so. No, I don't think I've heard this. I don't think I've heard this at all. I never really got into Eminem. Like a few songs, I'm like, this is great. Like Rap God. Sometimes I'll put it on. when my daughter, like when I'm feeding my daughter, because she dances to anything, and she just like starts wiggling and dancing to whatever. It doesn't matter what they're singing about, but it's hilarious to see my daughter like wiggling and dancing to to Eminem's Rap God. It's hilarious. So no, Robin, I have not listened to this. I'll let's see, I have it pulled up, so I'll listen to it after the stream. I'm gonna read this real quick. Kill Shot is a diss track written and performed by American rapper Eminem and produced by Ilda Producer. The song is Eminem's response to Machine Gun Kelly's Rap Devil. That was released in 2018 after Eminem released his first diss to MKG called Not Alike. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard of Machine Gun Kelly. I'm not versed in this world. I don't know anything about. I rarely listen to this kind of music, but I think I've seen Machine Gun Kelly. The only thing I know about him is he was on Hot Ones and he ate some chicken wings. I think this is him. That's literally all I know about it. But I'll check it out for sure after the stream, man. I appreciate that support, Robin. And Stephen W. Fothery, when's your birthday, Greedo? May 23rd. On the 23rd of May, I will be 33 years old. That doesn't make sense. I still feel like the same dude I was back in the day. Not really. I feel like I'm a very different person, but I just kind of, I don't know. It's weird how time goes and you slowly change. You slowly change. It's interesting. So yeah, in about a month, I'll be 33 years old. What am I gonna do? Probably nothing. I'll probably get a 6-pack of I don't know. A 6-pack of, what am I gonna get for my birthday? Dogfish Head beer, maybe? I don't know. Hang out with my wife, drink some champagne, and then be in bed by 9:30. But I appreciate that, Steve. And Franz Nerdinan, good to see you, man. I remember when I was a baby, my parents waited in a big ass line at Toys R Us just to get the Phantom Menace toys. Yeah. Oh, I should have wrote about something like that in my book. I guess I could change it. I haven't finalized it yet. Yeah, I have memories of like that too. Not when I was a baby, but when I was like, I don't know, 10 or so. When Furbies first came out, dude, I don't know if you remember Furbies? They were like a huge big rage. And Tamagotchi and all that shit. When Furbies came out, for whatever reason, me and my sister wanted one. And my mom drove us around looking for Furbies, and they were sold out everywhere, and we finally got Furbies. I don't remember playing with them. Like it's kind of like funny. I kind of feel bad for dragging my mom store to store to look for a goddamn Furby. Stupid. Yeah, I remember things like that for sure. My dad, when the Nintendo 64 came out, I didn't ask for the Nintendo 64 for Christmas. I didn't ask for it, I never even... I wanted one, but I wasn't the kind of kid who would really ask for things or really want certain things, for whatever reason. But my dad wanted to get me a Nintendo 64 for Christmas. And when I opened it, I was like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. Well, the way they gave it to me was my mom handed me a present, and I opened up, it was a game. It was a Nintendo 64 game. And I was like, oh, I don't have this system. It won't work. And she was like, oh, we'll have to take it back then. We'll get something that works. Because I had a Super Nintendo. And then at the end of Christmas, the last present that I opened was a Nintendo 64. Which is just kind of a cool thing. But my dad apparently was looking all around for a Nintendo 64, calling stores to see if they had one. He called a Best Buy. I think it was a Best Buy, or maybe it was a KB Toy. It doesn't matter. But he called a store. They said they had one. They were going to hold it for him. He went to the store. They said they didn't have it, and he got pissed off. He started cursing them out. That parental, oh my god, it's Christmas, I don't know, stress, I guess. And it turns out when he was walking out of the store, his buddy was with him because his buddy was looking for something for his kid too. And his friend said, you know, this is the wrong store. So he went to this store to get this Nintendo 64. It was sold out. He was pissed, but it turns out the store that that was actually holding the Nintendo 64 was a completely different store. So I think he probably feels bad about that. Silly. But I appreciate that, Franz. And Steven, once again, man, thank you so much. I just hit 33. I'm 43 days older than you. Nice. Well, happy birthday, man. It's crazy. We're getting old. We're getting old, Steve. The world is passing us by. New generations are taking over. It's okay though. I think we're in good hands, man. I write a little bit about in the book about having faith in this generation coming up and how they're born into this technology, and I think we're making a mess of things, but they're going to be cleaning up things on the internet for a long time. But yeah, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Steve. 33. 33. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Sometimes, like, yeah, it's weird. Sometimes I think about 33, and it sounds like it's not very far off from 40, right, Steve? Like, you're like, oh my god, the past 7 years went by like that. The next 7 years are going to go by even quicker. Oh my god. What the hell are we going to do? Can't do anything. Can't do anything. Just got to ride the wave. That's all you can do. There's a beauty in it, though. There's a beauty in it. I don't know. Like when Rey talked about, or no, was it Rey? Yeah, I think it was Rey in The Last Jedi. One of my favorite moments in that movie is when she has her eyes closed and she's talking about the cycle. Like, I can't remember exactly what she said, but she said something like death that feeds new life, destruction, beauty. I can't remember exactly what she said, but it's kind of like that, you know, the cycle. I love it. It's interesting. I won't be saying that when I'm 80 years old, trust me. Let me hold on. Let me hold on. Let me hold on. Oh, man. All right, guys. I got to get going. My daughter's still asleep, but I want to knock a little bit of this audiobook editing out before she wakes up. I have edited 8 minutes of the 3rd chapter, and I have... How long is this chapter in audio? I have 26 minutes recorded. So once I cut it down, it'll probably be about like 22 minutes or so. We'll see. But, all right, guys, thank you so much. I'm gonna like, I always want to do more daytime streams. So maybe, you know, maybe I'll start doing this. I'm not gonna exclude my normal, like, afternoon streams, or evening streams, rather. I'll start doing both. I want to accommodate more people during the day that can watch these streams, you know, during the day and can't make it at night. I used to stream at this time every day before my daughter was born, and now I never do. And I want to try to revamp that, you know. It's all dependent on her nap schedule, though. Right now, she's been down for about 50 minutes, which is great. It's kind of surprising to me. Normally, it's not that long, but yeah. All right, guys. Let me run down the list after I take a quick sip. All right. Stephen W. Fothery, thank you for the super chat and channel support. Franz Nerdnan, thank you for the super chat and channel support. Robin, thank you for the super chat and channel support. Vibs Ninja's Boss, thank you for the super chat and channel support. Sapity, thank you for the super chat and channel support. Dugamar, thank you for the super chat and channel support. Pry, thank you for the super chat and channel support. Primagruta, I should have said your last name there, man. I apologize. Thank you once again, man, for the support this afternoon. Mr. Clutch 888, thank you for the super chat and channel support. Dr. Strangelove, thank you for the super chat and channel support. And I don't think I missed anybody. Nice. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I will be back with you this evening for a normal time stream. Until then, have fun, get some shit done, and I'll catch you on the flip side. See ya.